Test. Test, test.
Did it come through? Yeah. Does it work? Did you hear that, Nathan? Oh, okay.
So we'll be starting in just a few minutes due to some traffic and so on. We're a few minutes delayed, but hang tight and we'll get started as soon as our guest speaker's here. Thanks.
Okay, friends, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to get started here. My name is Paul Edwards, and I direct Wheatley Institute at Brigham Young University. And on behalf of Wheatley, and let's see, we still have the cool elevator music. That was great. Thank you. On behalf of Wheatley, also the Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute at the University of Utah, the Institute for Peacemaking, and the BYU Political Science Department, I'm really glad to welcome you to today's lecture from Tim Shriver on Dignity, the Foundation of a New Patriotism. I've asked Tammy Pfeiffer, Vice President of External Affairs for the Dignity Index, to offer an invocation on today's event.
Here I am. Our Father in heaven, we are so grateful for this beautiful spring day. We're grateful for this institution of knowledge and learning. We are grateful for each other. We're grateful for the many blessings that we enjoy, and we're grateful for our health, our strength, that we can see and hear and walk and speak and enjoy one another's company. We are grateful for the opportunity that we have today to listen and learn from Tim Shriver and to understand better the principles that he will be teaching about how to improve our country and also our discourse with one another. We are grateful for the many blessings that we enjoy living in this country and the blessings that await us as we strive to draw near to each other and draw near to Thee. We pray that our hearts and our minds might be open in this next hour, that we can listen and learn and feel truth when it is spoken and be able to understand how we can play a role in making a difference in the lives of others and especially in the life of this great country. We're grateful again for all that we have and pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tammy. I got to tell you, we have three of my very favorite people here today with Tammy. You may have remembered with Elder Gary E. Stevenson's devotional address here in January that he made a special point to highlight Tammy Pfeiffer as an exemplar of President Nelson's plea for peacemakers. And she was highlighted in his devotional talk just 1 month before USA Today named her as one of the Women of the Year for 2025 for USA Today. So we're really grateful to have you with us, Tammy. I've asked Natalie Gochner, the director of the Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute and an associate dean at the Eccles School of Business at the University of Utah, if she would introduce today's speaker. And before Natalie comes out, I am going to embarrass her just a little bit here. What? You came out? Oh, no, well, no, one cannot overstate the importance of Natalie's influence on Utah public policy. She's been a trusted advisor to at least 3 governors that I know of, with a very special relationship with Michael Leavitt. Mike couldn't survive Washington, D.C. and the Bush administration without Natalie's guidance and analysis, and that just gives you a little sense of her trusted role in that way, but not just personal relationships that have helped to shape public policy in the state, but as the lead economist at the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce and now as the inaugural director of the Gardner Institute at the University of Utah. Natalie, you just do the best job of providing the gold standard for data that helps to drive informed decision-making in the state, data about economics, about public finance, about demography, about public policy. It's just an extraordinary resource. You're doing such great work. And glad to have you as a friend, and glad to have you here to introduce our director. Provide a warm welcome to Natalie Gochner.
You're awesome.
I'll get off the stage.
You're awesome. I tried to squeeze him out, but Paul, thanks for that really kind introduction. And I'm so pleased to be on the campus of Brigham Young University today and to introduce the University of Utah Impact Scholar, Tim Shriver. So at the University of Utah, we are under instructions from our president to be great collaborators, and we hope to spend even more time down here at BYU. And one of the ways that we're collaborating is bringing to the Wheatley Institute and the Kennedy Center and all of you, the great thinking of Tim Shriver. Tim is the chairman of Special Olympics International. I'm sure you'll hear a little bit about that. He's the founder of Unite and co-creator of the Dignity Index, and he is leading what I'm going to refer to as the dignity movement in our country. And if you think about it, there has never been a time when a dignity movement was more important. And so please join me in welcoming Tim Shriver.
Thank you, Natalie. Come out from behind the curtain. Thanks, everyone, and apologies for keeping folks waiting a minute or two late. I apologize for that. That's on me. I know that's very forbidden in BYU land. We're punctual, so I'm sorry we're starting a few seconds behind schedule, but I appreciate your patience. I want to thank Tammy for her beautiful prayer. In particular, I was listening, as I hope all of you were, to the litany of gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And then I heard these words, open our heart. She said open our hearts and our minds, but I'm going to actually try to make a full-blown effort to try to emphasize how important it is for us to open our hearts. So I thank you, Tammy, for that. I also thank you for mentioning in your prayer that if we hear truth, that we will hear it, meaning I'm not sure what Tim's going to say, but if anything he says is any good, I pray that we'll actually be able to discern it from within the many messages that are there. But I kind of also feel like I've already won because having Paul up here with Natalie isn't like having BYU and the U working together. Isn't that like the new patriotism? Can't we? I know all of you think that the University of Utah is the most important university in the state of Utah, but there are some up at the University of Utah who actually are worried that BYU might be the most important university. So this is a moment when we can celebrate in all seriousness how competitive, strong, powerful institutions can also show deep respect and affiliation and strength in each other, even if you come from slightly different perspectives, which the universities always will, every university will. To see Paul and Natalie up here, I know it's not a huge message, but it's an important message, I think, that we take today symbolically and in their presence and in their leadership for all of us. I'm also happy to be at the Kennedy Center. The one I'm used to going to is being run by President Trump nowadays. So I'm glad to be at one that's independent and run by academic scholars. I'm going to spend a few minutes today inviting you to think about what it means to be a patriot. I'm going to guess that on a scale of 1 to 10, if I said, how patriotic are you? How important is it for you to be patriotic? And you were to answer on a scale of 1 to 10. Let me just ask right out of the gate, what do you think the average would be? I'm not going to ask you what your number would be. But if 10 is, I'm super, super patriotic, and if 1 is, I don't see it, I'm not on that team at all. What do you think the average in this room is? What do you think? What do you think the average might be? No right answer, because we'll never know the answer. There's no written test, and I'm not going to average it out. Yeah?
Given that we're all here to talk about patriotism, I'm guessing 8 or above.
8 or above. Others agree? Does that sound right? Think this is a pretty patriotic group? Probably? Yeah. Okay, good. So as you listen to this, here's what I would like you to think about. If you're an 8 or above, I'd like you to think about what you would say to a 2. How you would, if they were in this room today at the end of this, and you're walking out, I want you to imagine finding yourself on the outside of this room, walking out with someone you know who says, you know, you scored an 8, Tammy, I score a 2. And what would you be saying to them about your vision of patriotism? What would you be saying to them to defend or advocate for or share your vision of patriotism? I'm going to hope we can come up with some answers to that today. We, like in the Dignity Index work and in the Dignity movement, we draw on people throughout American history. We draw on faith-based leaders. We've drawn quite a bit on President Nelson in recent years, existing leaders. But we've had a wonderful time just finding quotes by the hundreds from Dr. King, a person who faced one of the most difficult periods in American history, where tension, violence, adversarial thinking, age-old wounds and angers were being surfaced all across the country, from state capitals to community-based to universities, violence on the campus of universities, American students being shot on the campuses of America. We go back to Dr. King because we find in him over and over again this relentless unwillingness to demonize people on the other side of an issue. And so you can see here in this quote, I'll just stop at the beginning. I'm convinced, I'm going to update it a little, that people hate each other because they fear each other. It is not patriotic, I'm going to say right at the, it is not patriotic to hate other people in the country. Is that controversial? Is it controversial for me to say at the outset that to love the United States of America, to love your country, does not include hating other people in the country? Seems like a non sequitur to me, at least. Dr. King says we end up hating each other because we're afraid. Not because we have policy differences, not because we have differences on tax structure or religious freedom or border control, but because we're afraid of one another. And so we've taken Dr. King's challenge here to build a culture in which we respond to these things, where we actually try to focus on understanding and communication and connection and bridging separation, as the challenge of trying to overcome a moment in which we believe many, many Americans have come to the sad conclusion that to be patriotic means to hate other Americans. I got my lesson in this from the Special Olympics movement. This is a Special Olympics scene from 1995, but just to set the context for those of you, the Special Olympics movement is a movement of community-based empowerment for people with intellectual and developmental differences, so that the country, the world, the community, the family in which they grow up would not see them as inferior or so different that they don't belong, but instead see them with dignity. That's why we run track meets in Special Olympics. We run track meets so you will see an athlete, not a victim, not a sad story, not a hopeless case, not a disability, but an athlete. You'll see a sprinter. You'll see a striker on a soccer team. You'll see a point guard on a basketball team. You'll see a freestyle swimmer in the pool. And by seeing the person as a person who has that gift you understand and can recognize and can appreciate, by seeing the gift, you'll treat him or her with dignity, whereas before you might have approached him with fear or separation, all the things Dr. King said. So in this situation, you got 6,000 people with intellectual disabilities down in the field, and everybody there to cheer for them. It's a celebration of human dignity, and you can see in the upper right-hand corner there, President Clinton. He was the president at the time. This is 1995. He comes to the games to open, to declare the games open. But he's at the top row of the stadium because he can't, for security reasons, go down on the field. So the athletes are all down here, and they have those old single-use cameras. Some of you remember them, little yellow box cameras. And they're all trying to get a picture, and the president's way up at this line, and they're down here. And so a professional photographer sees a group of the athletes with their cameras up, and he realizes, looks closer, and he sees they've all got the cameras backwards. And they're holding them up to get a picture of the president, but the lens is pointing on their nose. And the photographer goes over to help. You're trying to get a picture of the president? Yeah. Well, you have to turn the camera around. Oh, thank you, the athlete says. He says, oh, thank you for telling us that. But if you look through the viewfinder backwards, it works like binoculars, and you can see the president at the top of the stadium. Now, I say this because it was a big and important lesson to me. When I heard the story of the photographer seeing the athlete with the camera backwards, I thought, oh, doesn't know how to use disability, doesn't know how to use a camera, wasting film, sad situation, developing country, doesn't speak English, hopeless case. My mind. I'm running the event. I'm the guy up on the stage trumpeting the dignity of the people on the stage, and I missed it. I got him wrong. I assumed that Republican is a jerk. I assumed that Democrat. They must look at the way she's dressed. I assumed, you know where she lives? People that live up there, you know what they're like? Judging the book by the cover. We get each other wrong all the time. And the Special Olympics movement is my classroom of seeing what Tammy said in the prayer, from the, not the eye, not the head, the heart. To see beneath the surface, beneath the label, beneath the address, the clothes, the age, the gender, the you name it, the religion, beneath, to see the dignity in everyone. Unfortunately, in my view, in our view at least, we are living in a culture that tells you to do the exact opposite. You see difference, hate them. You see difference, you know what those kind of people are like. You see difference. Did you hear what was on the news last night? Did you watch last night? I mean, I don't normally watch Fox. I don't normally watch MSNBC. But did you see what they said last night? Can you believe this guy? I mean, these people are trying to ruin the country, aren't they? Fill in the blank. This is the outrage industrial complex that Arthur Brooks has written about. It's a nice, tight business model that puts the algorithm, which loves your fear and loves your contempt, in partnership with partisan media, which uses the algorithm to inflame the most hateful things they can find about your fear, and politicians who then use your fear to campaign and raise money from you and get you mobilized to support them. We call this the outrage industrial complex. Some of you may be old enough to remember President Eisenhower warning us against the military industrial complex at the end of his presidency. Beware, he said. There's a big network of interests that are going to drive huge amounts of investment. In his view, this is a retired five-star general, last five-star general, president of the United States. You got to be careful of that group of people. They're all nested together, and they're going to drive unrealistic and unneeded spending on the part of. He called it the military-industrial complex. We think there's a new version of that, and I would dare say it's far more dangerous, because its ultimate goal is to make you afraid and treat of other Americans, to make you feel that to be patriotic means to treat another person in the country with contempt. But it's not just about the country. John and Julie Gottman have been studying marriages, relationships for 40 years, is it, Tom? Maybe a little bit more. Capturing data for 40 years on couples. And their premise is they can watch you for a short period of time with someone who you've come in with counsel. And if they see this pattern, they're going to say, your marriage isn't going to make it. The relationship isn't going to make it. The pattern, I treat you with contempt. When you speak, I roll my eyes. When you say something, I say, I'm better than you. That's the poison, not just for a country, but for your friends. And this is why one of the outcomes of the outrage industrial complex, of the outrage industrial complex, is that almost a third of Americans, some would say a little bit more, are ending relationships with people they love. Why? Because there's so much contempt coming at them from the outside that they no longer want anything to do with them. Anybody have it in their family where someone in their family, a brother, a sister, a cousin, an uncle, an aunt, a spouse, is saying, I don't want to talk to you anymore? Yeah. So when we think about watching Fox or MSNBC, we think about doom scrolling on our feed with the news we'd like to get. And when we think about giving $25 to the politician who reminds us how much we should hate the other party, guess what we're doing? You're dooming your own family. You're putting a poison in the relationship with the person in the next room without even realizing it, I'm sorry to say sometimes. So we're sick, we're split, and we're stuck. The outrage industrial complex, the glorification, the normalization of contempt. Not, our religious traditions would tell us, oh, contempt will happen, sin will happen, mistakes will happen. They are to be overcome. They are to be changed. They are to be repented. Now we have, oh, contempt will come, demonization will come, dehumanization. It will be celebrated. Let's cheer for the most hateful person. Make sure we elect them to the United States Congress, United States Senate. Yay! That's our guy, going down there to fight and kick ass and take names. Excuse me, sorry. I'm not going to be invited back now. That was the end of this. So Richard Edelman, who's been looking at this issue for several decades, publishes something called the Trust Barometer. 28 nations are in the same category. He calls it distrust in institutions at an all-time high, highlighting 40% of us believe in hostile activism, meaning the way to act is to act with hostility towards the other side. 20%, this is across 26, I think this is 28 or 26 countries' data, I can't remember. 20% of people in those countries will consider violence as a way of solving problems. This is not business as usual, folks. We've had problems in the past, and we will have problems again in the future, but this is not business as usual. I'm going to skip this and move into the next phase here. So you say, well, what are we going to do about this? Thanks for telling us, Tim. Everything's a real mess here. You've got us really all pumped up about the future. Our view is, looking at the literature here, that if contempt tears us apart, there's one thing that can get us back, one thing that can take you back from the precipice of breaking off that relationship or ending or hating. It's seeing the dignity of the other. The person you think, the Special Olympics athlete you thought, that I thought was hopeless and incompetent, see the dignity. My eyes can open up a little bit wider. That's what Tammy prayed for. If I see the dignity in you, I got a shot to overcome the fear that Dr. King spoke about, which leads to the contempt that Arthur Brooks writes about, which leads to the distrust that Richard Edelman is polling for us. What is dignity? I probably don't need this slide at BYU, right? This is probably on signs around this campus. It's probably when you apply as high school seniors to come here, it probably says almost between the lines, you're coming to a place that values human dignity. Might use slightly different language. We're all children of the same God, Heavenly Father, our Lord and Savior. But all of that language, in our view, has at least all of it has one thing, one piece of it that is pointing to the idea that each of us is made in the image and likeness. Each of us has inviolable dignity, meaning I can't take it from you. You can't earn it. You're given it. Right? It's a receptive art to know your own dignity. You can't acquire it. So it's one of the confounding things of many religious traditions. No matter how hard you try to earn whatever it is, maybe this is not quite the right theology in this audience, but I would suggest that no matter how much we try to fight our way to earning something good in the eyes of our higher power, our Lord and Savior, or our Heavenly Father, the love is already there. You didn't earn it. You were given it. All your job is to receive it. Get out of the way. So Donna tells us that this desire, this hunger we have that wells up within us, it's our most important, it's a survival instinct. We don't make it unless we have and feel our longing for human dignity being satisfied. And when it's attacked, watch out. So we built this scale not because we felt like the most fun thing in the world would be to go around scoring people, but because we felt like in a time in which contempt has so taken over our culture, we needed some language, some tool to try to work our way back. To try to find a way when we talk about them to ease the contempt in our own language, to move up the scale. So we started classifying it so people could see that when I say we're better than those people, they're kind of just bad people, we're the good people, Oh, I can see what that's a 3. Now, I could talk about the same group of people or the same issue, border control, whatever, you name it, whatever you want to talk, tax rates, let's have something really boring. I could talk about my desire for tax rate X and your desire for tax rate half X by saying, I'm the good people, you're the bad people. You're bad for believing that taxes should be half what I think they should be. Or I could say, I think we both deserve equal time. If I say, you share your opinion, I share mine, that's a 5. If I say, you know what, I don't think we have everything in common here, but I want to learn about you because I might have room to grow here. I might not be right. That's the telltale sign of a 7. That's language 7s use, which elevates the dignity of the person on the other side without agreeing with them, right? So we're not telling you, suppress your position. You really think it's important that the tax rate go up for whatever reason, to fund the Defense Department, to fund schools, whatever you really believe it. We're not suggesting you should change your opinion. Don't water down your idea. The question we're asking Americans today is, can you hold your passion while at the same time not dehumanizing with contempt the person who has a different passion? It's a pretty simple question. Second thing, if I asked you to remember anything here, it's that all we're talking about is how we treat each other when we disagree. That's it. Now, our view is that this is a new issue in American patriotism. That to hold the flag up if you're a patriot, to brag about your father or your brother or your sister or yourself in your military service, if you are gifted enough to have had someone in your family who gave service to the military, to say, I believe in this country because of the wonderful teachers or cops or political leaders who have sacrificed their lives for this country, to hold up the flag because you're so confident that the Constitution is a great document or the Declaration speaks to a generation upon generation with a truth that endures. I hold up the flag for all those things, all fine. Our view is that the new patriotism will add one more principle. And that is, I hold up this flag because in this country, we treat each other with dignity. Even when we disagree. And if you can't do that, I don't believe patriotism makes it. Because of the data you saw earlier. So this scale is a kind of a sneak attack on the outrage industrial complex. It's an attempt, yeah, shh, everybody quiet, don't tell. It's a sneak attack because it exposes the way in which we treat each other to ourselves. We'll talk a little bit more of that in a minute. So we'll just have a quick little scoring. Paul, how are we doing on time? Sorry. We're okay? Another hour or so? Just kidding. Tammy, you want to read Simone for us?
I think it's all about sportsmanship, and we don't care whether we win or lose. We're always going to keep a good face and support our competitors because they've worked just as hard as we have for that moment. You have to give them their flowers, and that's exactly what me and Jordan were doing.
So Simone Biles and her fellow American competitor, Jordan, they came in second and third in the Paris Olympics, and the Brazilian gymnast came in first. And everybody made a big fuss about the fact that on the medal stand, the second and third place winners bowed and cheered for the winner. So you don't have, maybe I can go back. Oh, you're about to give these out? I'm going to go back. All right, you had a quick glimpse. You've had a 4-minute instruction in this. Take a stab. You can do it in your own mind. I'm not going to put you on the spot. Where do you score what Simone Biles just said? What score would you give her? Is she that our competitor's not even human? I'm going to destroy her. Is she we're better than those people? Is she we always talk to the other side? Where would you score Simone Biles' comment? Anybody want to take a chance? Here it is. We'd give this a pretty good score. We'd give this a 6. Common ground, not just equal time, respect for a person's position that's different from my own, but also a sense in which we share common values. That's a telltale sign of a 6. Let's do one more. Paul, do you want to read this one? Put you on the spot.
Taylor Swift is a psycho.
Wait a minute, did you write this?
She's the cancer of the music industry. Seriously, never seen such a fame-hungry and stats-obsessed artist in my life.
Okay, now you've got scorecards in front of you. Pay close attention to some of the language. This is how we'd score this if we had our technical team on hand. Look at the words like psycho, cancer, fame hungry, stats obsessed, quote, artist, a little bit of mockery in the artist quote there. What do you think? Anybody want to take a stab at it? 2, 2.5. We can make a case. Tom's about to say 1. We make a case for a 2, but we end up on a 3. We're the good people. She's the bad person. She's not ruining the country. She's not destroying the music industry. She's just bad, right? She's not quite evil. My view would be a 3. Others can make the case for a 2. But you can start to see how you start to look at language, and you could say you're not a Swiftie. You don't think she's been good for the music industry. You don't think her art is of a world-class nature. You could say all that and say, and I have so much respect for the way in which she's done her job. She deserves the chance. And she has had many wins, and I'm still going to try to find out more about why she's so popular, because I don't get it. What I see is someone who's not a world-class artist. Now you'd start to hear the same message with 6 or even 7 language, right? So I'm not saying everybody who thinks Taylor Swift is not a great artist should all of a sudden be nice. You could say, I don't appreciate her, I don't think it's so you get the point? You don't have to change what you think, you just have to change how you address or how you treat someone with whom you disagree. Here's our sort of iconic one. Would you read this one?
Sure. I claim to be a simple individual liable to err like any other fellow mortal. I own, however, that I have humility enough to confess my errors and to retrace my steps. It is unwise to be too sure of one's own wisdom. It is healthy to be reminded that the strongest might weaken and the wisest might err.
I was going to say that was Tammy Pfeiffer, but it's already up there, Mahatma Gandhi. So Gandhi is like King. If you read the canon of Gandhi, you just find quote after quote like this. And it's not just words, right? I mean, this is a person who gave his life, sacrificed his life for the capacity to hold nonviolence and decency and respect for other people, even as he opposed the politics and policies of the British Empire. We'd give this a 7. The telltale sign here is the willingness to admit that I might be wrong. And how many times in a tussle do we do this? Very rarely, actually. Most of us really have a hard time saying, especially on politics, let me start by saying I have strong positions, I have valid beliefs, I have lots of data to support my position, but I'm going to talk to you even though I think your positions are misguided because I have something to learn from you and I might be wrong. I mean, when was the last time you heard a politician say that? Right? This is a 7. So do you want to watch a little Ted Lasso? I don't know how much time we have. We can jump into a little bit more Q&A and stuff like that.
How long is Ted Lasso?
It's only 2 minutes.
Oh, let's watch.
Okay. So have you all seen Ted Lasso before? Yeah, so you know the story. In this clip, we're going to jump ahead to where Nate, the guy on the left there, who used to work for Ted Lasso, has left and gone off to his own team, sees a little thing on social media that Ted has taken his team for team building and training to a London sewer. They've gone down into the sewer, and he's done this as an exercise with his team. And Nate is in a press conference, and he's being asked about this. Here's the clip.
Shani, would you like to comment on the new picture of AFC Richmond that's just showed up online?
I think I know where the team's gone.
Yeah, well, it makes sense to me. We have to train in the sewer because the coach is so shitty.
Tammy put that in, so I definitely wouldn't get invited back again. So the quote goes like this. They probably have to train in the sewer because their coach is so not so good. How would you score it?
4?
4 is a good idea. Good. I'd go a little lower. I know some people on the team like 4. I think it's a 3, but Tammy tells me I'm wrong. But you can see there's some judgment here, but well, I'm not going to defend myself, but 4 is a good answer, and a lot of people would agree with it. Let's watch what Ted does in response.
Do you have any response to the comments made earlier today by your former assistant coach, Nathan Shelley?
Yes, I do. I thought it was hilarious. I mean, he came and got it, didn't he? No doubt about that. Hey, but that's Nate's great for him. You know, he's the same way on the pitch. He'll find the tiniest little weakness in the team and just want to attack it. I mean, he's a junkyard dog. And smart. We're real lucky to have him at West Ham. I was in the best of luck.
I still get emotional watching that. I know it's kind of pathetic. Here's the quote. I thought it was hilarious, but that's Nate the Great for you. He's the same way on the pitch. I mean, he's a junkyard dog, man, smart. Lucky to have him over there. I wish him the best of luck. How would you score it? 6? I hear some 6s. Anybody go higher? So we've had a lot of interesting discussion about this one. Some would score it a 6. A lot would score it a 7 because he's humble, because of the humility in there. Some people, Tom in particular, would score. Do you want to say why you'd scored an 8, Tom? Because you said it so beautifully.
Well, when you take a direct personal insult and you respond with grace and dignity, that's as close as we get to love your enemies. So that's the highest degree of difficulty. So I would score an 8.
So Tom would score an 8, and Tom's more articulate than anybody else, so me too. But you can see here, I hope you see in this little clip, what Tom just said, which is the highest level of discernment in conflict. Everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody, many people for many thousands of years, 2 at least in running, have heard the expression, love your enemies. But the inner skill, the capacity to see with the heart, to be able to do that when someone attacks you, insults you, calls you a name, attacks your credibility, makes fun of you, violates your dignity, to return that with dignity is a really big time skill, right? If we had more of that, if our religious traditions really, in my view, if we all just said, hey, let's stop for a year preaching everything else, but how to do that? We're out of time already? I thought you said I had plenty of time. Okay. I'm going to just...
So Tim mentioned the parents, right?
Yeah.
You have to say parents. If you've been a parent of a toddler or a teenager, you've done that, right?
Right.
You take the abuse and you respond with love. So,
And a lot of you are close enough to being teenagers to know that your parents loved you even when you were abusing them, so remember that. Just 3 last quick points. I'm going to make these very quickly. One of the things that the spiritual traditions remind us, they don't use this language, but it's there. Test me on this if you want, in the Book of Mormon or in the Christian scriptures, the other Christian scriptures, I'm not sure exactly what to call them, in the canonical Jewish scriptures and in the Quran, you will see this insight, which is hold up a story to yourself. When you see your own contempt, you will start to use less of it. But it will operate in disguise. You will have contempt because it sneaks in and you don't see it. You see your contempt as being justified by the self-righteousness you feel about being better than others. Contempt is hard to see when you use it. It's hard to use when you see it. The dignity index helps people see it. That's insight number 1. I'm going to skip this because we don't have time for it, even though it's super interesting. Sorry. Let's go back one here. A second point we want to make is self-regulation is very important in conflict. If I attack you, if I'm Nate, and I go, all those things about you, one of the things I think goes unnoticed in that clip is how he took a moment. Do you have a response? There's a pause, right? For TV, it's kind of a long pause. Maybe it's 3 or 4 seconds. I'm not sure exactly. But he takes a beat. And then he says, yeah, I do. He doesn't, I do. You can see that he's regulated. So we can teach this to second graders. We probably can teach it to college-age kids and faculty. I mean, second graders can learn. I'm not so sure about us adults. But these are just simple tools that people can teach. Learn how to turtle. A second grader can do this. Put your hands on your shoulders. Pretend like you're dropping into your shell. And take a deep breath. Commonly known as self-regulation. In debate, regulate before you debate, and your score goes up. I know I got to stop. I'm running out of time now on everything. The mirror effect. Last quick point. We designed this because we thought if we used it, we would get people to judge their politicians, so Mike Lee or Mitt Romney or Spencer Cox or Gary Herbert or whoever it is, Joe Biden or Donald Trump. And we'll score them, and we'll kind of scold them into getting better. That's what we thought. What we found most people are interested in is what it reveals about themselves. So self-regulation is one thing. Self-awareness is another. We believe that what this can do for you, now I'm just talking, this is just individuals and not just for our country, is help you see the options you have when you are tempted to use contempt. I'm going to close with this example. This is a 4-year-old who has learned a good degree of self-awareness. Check her out. Whoops. Oops. Okay. Any chance if it doesn't work? Oh, there we go. QuickTime not available. Okay. So we're going to end. Too bad. That was a really good quote. Just to give a quick plug to students, those of you here, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. We're trying to build a movement. We're not trying to build an organization. We're trying to build a movement. And so we invite you. Faculty, Paul knows about this. We invite people in the various institutes that are represented here. We invite students. You say, well, there's only 6 or 8 of us here, or 12 or 15 of us. That's more than enough. Anybody know the Margaret Mead quote? Never doubt that social change, never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world. They're the only thing that ever has. We're not going to be able to change this country by attacking our politicians or by attacking Washington, in my view. We're going to change this country by building on an alternative. And it's going to have to come from the bottom. It's going to have to come from us. So I thank you for joining us. These are the students from the University of Utah. I'd love to have, next time I come down here, a picture with all the students from Brigham Young who would have organized to build Students for Dignity and activities on campus that would elevate the importance of dignity as a movement our country desperately needs. Thank you very much.
Let's do a couple of quick questions. I'm going to pop up here. Let's just give you that for a sec. We know it's about close to 3:50, and some students will need to slip out. This might be an opportunity if you have. We know that there are classes coming up. But Tim, thank you. Always a pleasure to be with you. You and I have been together at cathedrals and synagogues and other places trying to preach this message. The question I have for you, and then I want to take them from the audience, is the incentive structure is just so hard to work against, it feels like, because of the outrage industrial complex. And so do you have any messages for us about what we might do within the current incentive structure to try to promote dignity?
Okay, so you're right. That's why this is a movement that's going to take courage and bravery and change. And so if the incentives weren't the way they are, we wouldn't have a problem. Selfish incentives, maybe the most important. Your mental health gets better. Less lonely, less angry, less despairing about the future, less frustrated, less hostile to other people. You're going to feel better. So if you just wanted an incentive like for yourself, just go like, okay, this is going to make me happier. Okay, I'm in. That's number one. Number two, you're going to make things better for a lot of other people. You're going to solve problems. Like, talk about relationships. I have this problem in my family. I'm much closer to being able to solve problems in my family, with my brothers, with my cousins and others, when I treat them with dignity. When I've fallen short, they get worse. So you don't just make your relationships better, you make the likelihood of solving problems better. What about the larger incentives outside of us? They're not in our favor most of the time, except if you look a little deeper. Like, bring in a room full of CEOs and ask them how many of them run their companies with hostility and contempt and dehumanization. Some will say yes, honestly. There are companies that are run that way, and some of them are successful. But most of them won't. Most of them will say, we got better by treating people well. I was just with the folks who started Chick-fil-A about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Their whole mantra of this gigantically successful, fully private company is all about treating their employees with dignity. That's
And
the whole
their customers.
It's a whole business model.
Right.
I hear the chicken's good. I don't eat chicken, but I hear the chicken's really good. But the business model is a dignity-based model, and they're fabulously successful. So look beneath the surface. The incentives look bad, but sometimes they're a lot better than they are. Look at your own elected officials. Yeah, we know all the ones that lead with contempt, that win. Everybody knows about them. Why? Because the outrage industrial complex tells you about them all day long. Can you believe what he did, what she did? Oh my God, outrageous. And she won. Can you believe it? She's a horrible person. So we get all that. But a lot of people are winning a different way. The last point I'll make here is be an incentive. Don't just look for an incentive, be one. When someone sends you an email from your party that's full of contempt, write back. Say, I love my party, I love you as a candidate, whatever. I'm not giving you this email. I'm not clicking the give button because it's got some. So politicians are derivative creatures. They're looking for what works. If I send you a text and you give $25 because I really ream the other guy, I'm going to go, it's successful. If I get messages back from 3 dozen BYU students all joined together, I'm telling you, 3 dozen people writing the same email to a political figure saying, I'm not giving you any money, somebody in the staff is going to hear about it and talk to the member. Something's going on here, Senator, Congressman, whatever it is. We got to pay attention to this. If they get it a second time, they're going to call the guy who's writing the email copy and say, I don't want to get any more of these, okay?
Do you have an example?
So be an incentive.
Do you have any examples of change behavior among politicians? I heard something about Governor Stitt's office.
Well, I don't want to say we've changed his behavior because he might take offense to that. But we do know that I would say Governor Stitt is happy to say.
And he from Oklahoma.
Yeah, Republican from Oklahoma, incoming chair of the National Governors Association. As you all may know, Governor Cox was the previous chair, Governor Polis now. Governor Stitt has made a commitment to the Democratic members of the Oklahoma legislature that he would treat them with dignity after doing this. We were there, and he talked with a Democratic counterpart from Tulsa, who had been leveling him for failing to invest in infrastructure in Tulsa, some public works projects that needed work there. He agreed, based on this work, to go visit the site with her. They went. He said, I don't think, from my point of view, we should do this, but let's come back. And they found common ground, and they actually solved the problem, got a piece of legislation introduced. They both supported it, and it got passed. She was sitting there saying, look, I don't agree with this guy on most things, but we worked together on this one because he treated me well.
We gave you an opportunity to ask questions through this QR code, but you haven't responded that way. So I'm just going to look in the audience here quickly. Stand up, tell us your name if you have a question. Nathan in the back?
No, there should be.
Nope, nothing there. It's okay.
There's a question.
Yeah.
So I submitted it, so just ignore it.
Yeah.
I guess, Tim, from your perspective, in a dream world, how would you see the dignity index being used on the UAU campus on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis?
Great question. So here's a couple of things I'd love to see. I'd love to see incoming freshmen get an orientation when they get here. I don't know what the orientation is now. I'd love to have them get an hour and a half on the dignity index. And I'd love to have them here, this way, that on campus, we strive to be a 5 and up campus. Tammy could run that presentation. Madeline could run that tomorrow, next fall, with the incoming freshmen. So I'd love to see freshmen. Secondly, I'd love to see a code of conduct that maybe you might say, we don't need this at BYU. We're all so good to each other. We're all so nice. And I'm not just making fun of this. I actually think that's true here. I've only been here twice in my life, but it strikes me that you guys get this. But using the language that promotes what you get, I think would help. So I'd love to see a code of conduct adopted by students, saying we're going to be 5 and up students, and bring that to your classrooms. So when there is a right-left debate or there is a I see history this way or political science this way or the psychological question this way or engineering or whatever it is, when there is tension, people can feel safe in classes knowing that they won't be attacked with contempt for expressing their point of view. So I'd love to see this as a code of conduct on campus. I'd love to see it practiced in classrooms. I'd love to see the leadership of the university challenge people to put the signs up, put the index itself up. We find this in elementary schools. You just put it up and people start to follow it. So I think there's a lot of things you could do that would actually, you could have dignity debates. Presidential cycles are never far away. They're horrible for human relationships. I mean, they just are. I spent my whole life as a kid in politics. I never missed a presidential election. I campaigned every single election for 24 years of my life. And I'm completely radioactive to presidential elections because I think that their primary goal is to make me unhappy. So, but you could help me, people like me, by having dignity debates and challenging people in the next cycle or in the midterms. You'll have midterm elections here. Senator Lee, I believe, is up again, if I'm not mistaken. Is he?
For a little bit, more years.
2 years, right? That's what I mean, at the midterms. Yeah, so he'll be challenged or whatever. You could have debates. And I think it would be wonderful for other people to come and see someone arguing very vociferously on the right and people arguing from the left or Republican and Democrat or even in a primary. But see the passion. But know that everybody's treating each other okay. It'd be so liberating. I mean, Madeline talks about being a student at the U and being afraid to talk in class. Because it was just so hostile. Let's change that. Let's make BYU the place that's safe to share your opinion. You're going to be treated with dignity. Make that the mantra. Put a button up. Build a TikTok channel. I don't know. Something that would make it popular, funny, and cool.
We've got to wrap up because
because my answers are too long.
No, and I know you've got to head over to Utah Valley University here in just a moment. So we'll just wrap up with this question from. This is from Tossin Hembold, a student here at BYU. What keeps you optimistic about future discourse?
So this is not the first time I've been asked this, and it's a really good question. I would love, if I can take 1 extra minute, the prerogative of the chair, to ask that question to the group. I'd love to hear your answers. I have my answer. What keeps you optimistic? The question isn't are you, just what keeps you? Anything. What keeps you optimistic? Shout it out.
I see people doing it.
Beautiful.
Younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
Believe in myself to make it. Faith leaders.
Nice. Back row? I always like to pick on the back row because you guys never want to be picked on. Huh?
People are good.
People are good, fundamentally. And Frank, yeah.
I thought it was cool you said that dignity was like a survivalist. So like, if people are treated with dignity, it spreads.
Yeah. Yeah.
The opposite is happening. The treat people with dignity, they feel better.
Yeah. All the way in the back?
I believe this is the best way to communicate, connect with people, and who doesn't want the best?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's my faith, honestly, is the answer. I do believe people are good. I do believe at their core, when given the chance, people will choose the right thing. Not always, but more often than not, when given the chance. We need role models. We need to see it in others. I can't remember who said that, but we see it in others. That's some of the data which we didn't have time to cover today. But there's 70% of Americans want change. And the primary obstacle for most of them is they don't know how to get it. They don't know how to join. They don't see the opportunity. I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican. I don't know how to bridge this gap. I don't see the change. So if we see it, if we see people practicing it, if we see people with agency, taking it on, healing the divide, I think we can make it. Thank you.
Tim Shriver, thank you. How long do we have? Do we need to be getting out of the room quickly, or
I believe so.
is there someone coming in right away? The reason I ask is I'm just going to take the prerogative here. Tim, I want you to know in the back here we have, raise your hand if I call out the group, the Peacemaker Project back here. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm the co-president, co-founder of the Peacemaker Project, Academic Association in the Political Science Department.
Okay. Right over here, Lita, do you want to introduce yourself as from Office of Belonging?
My name is Lita Logan, Assistant Vice President of the Office of Belonging, and this is my colleague Scott. Love y'all.
And there's a Peacemaker Project out of political science. The Peacemaker,
Leadership Peacemaking.
Lana, stand up and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm the project manager for also the Political Science Department and Leadership for Peacemaking across campus.
Nice.
And you have a
Do you teach peacemaking?
We don't. We actually gather data and research that's being done on the best ways to be peacemakers.
So you are doing some research and teaching. Yeah, wonderful.
And we also have the leader of, hopefully, the Students for Dignity Club on campus, Tanner, right here, who would love
Tanner.
to come.
Tanner.
Tanner. Tanner.
I'm not the leader, I'm just one of the students that wants to get things rolling. And so we have a QR code. Alexa, she's really...
Oh, I didn't see Alexa. Almost a graduate.
We have a QR code that you can scan as you're leaving if you want to join our outlet. Because we'll be sending more updates as we get them. We're trying to find the best path forward. We're considering becoming an academic association like the Peacemakers. And so if you want to stay up to date on what we're trying to do to spread the dignity index here on campus, please scan the QR code.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Point being, there are resources here on campus. Kennedy Center and Wheatley Institute commit to continue to bring great people like Tammy, like Tim, like Tom Rosshirt here, and Natalie Gochner to campus to help us do this better. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Sorry I ran over a little bit, but it was, I think...
No, this is...
Felt like